saying good morning to everybody and to introduce a few, let's say, rules of desirable engagement. You all have on our chat you will have on our chat the rules of our engagement. There is already something here, you can find it. Basically, there are two main rules. First of all, let's keep our microphones closed during the interventions. And secondly, we can communicate with each other and to address the conference using the chat. Short, brief questions or comments.
Well, it seems that something happened to Julian.
Just a second, he's trying to connect again.
Let me start by inviting Mrs. Oana Mocanu, the Director General of the European Institute of Romania, for her welcome address. You have the floor.
Thank you, Julian, and thank you also for coordinating the EUReKA project from our part, from the Institute part. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the European Institute of Romania, let me welcome you also to the EUReKA project final conference. It is my pleasure to welcome to this conference our guest speakers, our partners in the project, and our main stakeholders. Special thanks to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, our coordinator, for their constant support. And here allow me to mention that unfortunately, Mrs. Iulia Matei, the State Secretary for European Affairs, will not be able to join us today due to last-minute changes in the agenda. Today's conference intends to present the conclusions of the EUReKA project and its main achievements to mobile EU citizens and stakeholders. The project aimed at promoting and facilitating the mobility of citizens in the Union, using innovative initiatives and providing new tools for the mobile EU citizens that give clear and correct information to citizens, observing the principle of anti-discrimination. I will leave the documented presentation of the project to its initiator, represented here by my project partner and its coordinator, Mr. Luca Di Sciullo, president of IDOS from Italy. But in relation to this project, I would like to underline only a few things. First of all, the project's orientation is modern, in line with the spirit of the European treaties and the evolutionary trends of our times. The responsibility for implementation lies with the stakeholders and not the member states. And this reflects the ownership of solutions and means of implementation in line with the principle of subsidiarity, both in its horizontal understanding, reflected through the involvement of social partners, civic organizations, and other associations, and its vertical comprehension, relying on local and not central territorial structures. The focus is on informing citizens and by doing so on their empowerment. The future is for the people with initiative and who are better informed. Supporting those who dare is likely to extend the beneficial effects on society as a whole. Not only does it make easier for the European mobile citizens to become everything that they could be, but it also shows the others that it is possible, hence influencing them in a positive way. The digital technology on which the project built is the most advanced tool for accessing and using information. It paves a direct path to a digital world based on the practicality and concreteness of technology in building the knowledge society. Second of all, the project focuses on information as a means of reducing transaction costs and increasing the efficiency of society. People are the only ones creating and attributing value, and the value of work is acknowledged and well promoted by this project. Finally, EUReKA has been one of the most difficult projects that the European Institute of Romania has had to implement. This alone makes the satisfaction of its successful completion all the greater. It wasn't the best funded or with the most partners, but the project had on its side the diversity of cultures and the closeness of partners in the implementation process. In addition to the novelty and thus the inherent difficulty of relationships between new partners at the beginning of their road, the pandemic of the last 2 years has acted against it. We had to keep up with the real world, which is more and more relying on virtual space and on digital tools. Thanking our guests today for accepting the invitation to intervene in the debate, as well as all the participants in the country and abroad, allow me to wish success for the works of this conference and to express my hope that the results of our project will enjoy a well-deserved recognition among the mobile EU citizens. Now let me invite Mr. Luca Di Sciullo, President of the Centro Studi e Ricerche IDOS in Italy, the EUReKA project coordinator, to tell us a few words about the inception, the stages, and the challenges that IDOS and its partners had to face. Mr. President, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Mocanu. Dear friends, dear partners and colleagues, I'm also very glad to welcome everyone at this final conference of the EUReKA project and to deeply thank all of you for attending the conference. And in particular, I would like to thank again Mrs. Mocanu, Oana, Mr. Julian, and my colleague Antonio Ricci for having coordinated all the project. So thank you very, very much. We all are waiting to listen by the speakers what kind of heavy work has been carried out so far by each transnational partner, which results have been achieved in this project, which outputs and deliverables have been provided, and what are the perspectives and the proposals for the future as to promote, improve, and support the free mobility of European citizens all over the European Union. It's not my task to face and share with you all these detailed issues, but I would like just to highlight and stress very briefly 3 preliminary points, just as to shape some general and, as I hope, also useful food for thought. The first point concerns what in these days is happening at the borders between Poland and Belarus. A new wall is going to be built, as we know, in the European Union by a European country to keep migrants out of the Union. And when in 1989 the Berlin Wall fell down, there were only 2 walls all over our continent. In 2021, we count 15 walls in the European Union and ready to grow up to 20 in a short time. Without considering violent pushbacks that are going on by many years on the Balkan route, the Mediterranean ones, the Eastern and the Western routes in Europe. The most spreading feelings linked with the mobility are fear, hate, and a sense of intolerance. Well, the weakness and the crisis of Europe is substantially all here in the inability to understand, to accept, to carry, and to manage the contemporary complexity of a world of migrations. The second point refers to what is at the same time the reason and the consequence of such policy. The will to keep intact, simple, and homogeneous our social and cultural identity. Without understanding that every identity burns and grows up when diversities meet, take care, dialogue, and receive each other. And when we exclude or deny the others, we just make the first step to deny and lose our identity. The knowledge and the awareness of who we are. And the proof of this is that the more Europe pushed back migrants using money and violence, the more we feel that we are far and far from the dream of our founder fathers and cannot say what's the European identity. And the third and final point concerns the meaning of the mobility of European citizens within the European Union and how it deals with the picture we have been drawing so far. For many centuries, as we know, European people and countries have been fighting each other in bloody wars. And when violence reached no more tolerable levels at the bottom of human dignity, only one step from regression to bestiality, after the Second World War, we dreamt a united continent based on common values and mutual solidarity, different peoples, histories, and traditions based on exchange, dialogue, and cooperation in order to promote a more global and open-minded generation of Europeans. And this is our original identity, the roots to understand who we are or who we should be. So the EUReKA project, as its name suggests, has had the aim to find out again this forgotten identity, European citizens, just by providing means and ways put in practice and on the basis of the belief that only by recovering a very effective hospitality and acceptance among European citizens, we would be able to do the same with the third country nations, building new societies, new policies for both peoples. Thank you very much. We can't hear you, Julian.
Well, you can hear me now. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's the basic rule that I was forgetting about. Let me say a few words before we start the session to continue some of the ideas of our colleagues in the previous session. The power of information, especially when human destinies are at stake, is undeniable. Not only does information feed thoughts, but it also empowers people and generates change. The world provides many examples of the use of information and the approach to progress. China has approached reform and opening up as a means of crossing the river by filling the stones. Currently, Chinese are making their way to supremacy in world trade. Russia has revived its development with perestroika and glasnost. Nowadays, the Russians are caught between historical heritage, immutable cultural norms, and static institutions in their quest for power. The Americans, the oldest democracy of the world, is struggling to maintain its position in the world economy. Americans believe in taxes and death as the only certainties in life. They also trust in God so much so that they joke, claiming that everyone else pays cash. These are just a few illustrations on how societies guide and constrain individual evolution. Fortunately, European Union is founded on common values of its peoples and accompanies its evolution with democracy and solidarity. Accordingly, European citizens enjoy fundamental rights and freedoms. This is just an introduction to our first session. It addresses information for mobility. The subject is too broad to be exhaustive. However, we will be able to get some clues as to how, by capitalizing on information, Europe and Europeans are building their future. From Rome, we come to Bucharest, and now we move to Brussels, the heart of the European Union. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get acquainted with the context and the informational specifics of our days. What better source than the authority of labor? I give the floor to Mr. Cosmin Boiangiu, Executive Director, European Labour Authority. You have the floor.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you all. Thank you for the invitation and for this warm welcome today. I can say that I'm neither in Brussels nor in Bratislava, where the agency is situated. I'm traveling, so I'm somewhere in Germany. So that's like true to our mission to help labor mobility, to help mobility in general. So also it's valid for me. I'm very mobile these days. So let me begin my intervention by thanking the organizers of this event for their continuous effort of bringing together many various stakeholders to work together for the benefit of the EU citizens. I'm very happy to address you in my capacity as the Executive Director of the European Labour Authority, ELA, as we call it, a very new EU agency tasked with the promotion of and enforcement of fair and effective EU labour mobility. I am aware that today's conference marks a final chapter of work completed by 11 organizations from 6 EU member states, and all that for a fairer mobility in our union. It is indeed an objective at the core of my agency's mandate and also close to my heart, and therefore I congratulate you on your achievements, such as your handbook on best practices. I have been invited to speak about how ELA also works for the benefit of EU mobile citizens and workers, bringing member states' best practices together. For those of you who haven't heard about our new agency, let me shortly mention the context behind its creation. In recent years, we have seen an ambitious agenda for fair and effective labor mobility, as an extensive body of EU legislation regulating, improving, and modernizing the free movement of workers has been adopted, including the founding regulation of ELA. But such an ambitious agenda also requires smooth, effective, and fair implementation of EU rules at national level. This is exactly where ELA comes into play. Let me make clear that ELA is an operational authority. Our mandate is not to set the rules. This is the task of the European Commission and the EU co-legislators. We are concerned with how we can implement, enforce, and facilitate the compliance with existing rules and make better use of the tools that we have at our disposal. Our job is to ensure fair labor mobility as the benefit of our single market. This is possible only when workers and employers are aware of their rights and obligations and know which services to reach out when needed. Also, when member states and social partners are given the tools and expertise to understand, put into place, and monitor EU labor rules. And also, when member states cooperate with each other, know their counterparts and each other's working methods, exchange information, and undertake joint action. So visibly, we are touching here on the importance of having an easy access to reliable and updated information for a wide array of mobility stakeholders. And if we want workers and employers to make use of their rights and be aware of their obligations, So we need to ensure clear and coordinated communication. To this end, last year, we established a working group on information as a strategic forum for exchange between member states and social partners on the subject of information provision to individuals and employers. This forum is crucial for developing and implementing the specific information strategy encompassing all forms of labor mobility. While in 2021, we have been focusing on provision of information on posting of workers, in 2022, ELA will focus on ways to improve the provision of information on social security for mobile workers. In addition, since mid-2020, we are running our translation facility in an endeavor to provide relevant information in a language understandable to individuals and employers at national websites on labor mobility. But let me also give you a concrete example of our approach to communication about mobility by recalling one of our main achievements of this year, our action plan on the rights of seasonal mobile workers. The action plan had three core objectives: to stimulate and support the initiatives of member states and social partners in addressing the key challenges in relation to cross-border seasonal work, to facilitate operational cooperation and coordination at EU level between national administrations and with the social partners for the benefit of seasonal workers, and to maximize the impact of activities by carrying out actions at the same time. To achieve these objectives, we opted for a comprehensive and life cycle approach to seasonal work with an emphasis on two core pillars: information and enforcement. Our flagship initiative has been the Rights for All Seasons campaign, and this campaign started in June and lasted till the end of September. The campaign especially focused on the agricultural sector, and we mobilized all the networks under our mandate, including the EURES network and the European platform, to enhance cooperation in tackling undeclared work. Our main job was to play an EU-wide coordination and supporting role for national activities related to seasonal work, and we acted as a mainstreaming channel for those activities. The objective was also to address the information challenges characterizing every phase of seasonal work, from recruitment to working conditions on the ground to promotion of declared work. Our campaign messages were shown more than 60 million times on social media. And the campaign culminated in the EU Week of Action for Seasonal Workers that took place between 20 and 24 September. And I'm very happy to say that member states and social partners were very active to organize actions targeting seasonal workers, and we've seen these actions spread all over Europe. So we see this action plan as an excellent start for our future activities. Lessons learned are good foundations for more effective ELA actions for the future, and we intend to carry out a next comprehensive plan of operations in 2022, which we call Framework for Action, with a focus on the road transport sector. So step by step, we build our capacities and refine our tools with the aim of having an ever stronger impact, both in information, but also in enforcement and cooperation activities. So perhaps you can notice that all of our actions related to the provision of information are underpinned by the virtue of bringing different actors together. Indeed, partnerships is the pillar of ELA's mandate and the key to ensuring fair labor mobility. Every actor, the EU, national authorities, and social partners is responsible for their part within the work journey of a mobile and seasonal worker, and they all must use their expertise or play their role in order for this journey to run smoothly and fairly. And here I would like to make note of a very special trait of ELA, its network of 27 national liaison officers. These officers work both within ELA structure and with national administrations, hence providing very operational, efficient, swift flow of information. Wherever needed, their support for our work with significant national perspective and unique point of view, it's very critical. In ELA, We believe that workers need various authorities to talk to one another and create seamless processes to solve citizens' problems in an efficient and adequate manner. And our network of NLOs will be instrumental in this regard. Let me conclude here with a brief overview of ELA's path until now. And just to remind you that ELA has been established just a little bit over 2 years ago. So we are still in our consolidating or growing years. And 2021 was a challenging year for the authority. We reached at least 5 important milestones simultaneously. We reached financial autonomy. We relocated our permanent basis premises in Bratislava. We completed our first European campaign and action plan, the one that I've mentioned for seasonal workers. And we also incorporated the platform tackling undeclared work, as well as the European office coordinating the EURES network. All this was possible thanks to the people of ELA working remotely in these conditions, in these times, from different parts of Europe, as the pandemic is still ongoing, but also would not be possible without the input from social partners and organizations like yours represented here at this conference today. So for this, I remain appreciative and thankful and wish you many successes in your future endeavors. And I would also like to assure you that at the European Labour Authority, we are equipping ourselves to ensure that changes in mobility, changes in labour mobility in Europe occur in a fair way, in an effective way, and we count also on partners like you. Thank you, and I welcome your questions later today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Director Executive. Well, it was extremely rich in information, and we are glad to share the ambitious plans of the European Union. It is a construction that grows and grows. Hopefully, it will reach all our activities in our daily lives. Now, let me introduce our next speaker. I give the floor to Mr. Mihnea Claudiu Drumea, Secretary of State, Ministry of Labour and Social Protection of Romania. And we move from...
Deci Zoom-ul ăsta este complet compromis. Ăsta. Uite, zici că ăsta...
You have the floor.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, I would like to say hello to everyone. And I will start to say a few words about the free movements of workers and freedom to provide services, as well as equal treatment, because they are cornerstones of the EU. Seasonal and other mobile workers make an important contribution to the internal market and have continued to do so during even the COVID-19 pandemic, proving once again their essential role in various sectors of the EU economy. The Romanian government, through the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection, continues to treat with priority the protection of Romanian workers abroad, and is proactively involved in taking the necessary step in this area, both nationally and in cooperation with our partners from the EU. Having in mind the problems faced last year by the Romanian mobile workers, including seasonal workers, in the context of COVID-19 pandemic, we made sure that we had put in place all the necessary measures of preparedness in order to safeguard the rights of seasonal workers abroad. Thus, the Ministry of Labour and Social Protection amended the legislation on the protection of Romania citizen working abroad on a temporary or seasonal basis, and I would like to say something about this. The definition of this category of workers and of the work carried out by them, respect for their rights in the states of destination, both during the employment and negotiation of bilateral cooperation instruments, including those concerning the provision of daily accommodation and food condition, or the reimbursement of transport cost. Adding additional elements to company job offers related to pay, leave, health insurance, obligation for placement agents to include in the seasonal workers employment contract. More than that, the Ministry of Labor and Social Protection has developed for 2021 the action plan for informing and protecting seasonal workers with two specific objectives. The first, increasing the level of information of seasonal workers in order to reduce the risk and the vulnerabilities caused by undeclared work. And the second, ensuring increased protection of seasonal workers by verification and control of the employment and temporary work agency. We focus our action on several directions which are part of nationwide campaign for informing seasonal workers pre-departures. And our minister already launched in partnership with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Home Affairs, and the Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure. Being here, I just wish to briefly mention the main action taking in order to increase the information awareness level of seasonal workers who plan to work abroad as part of the action plan. And I will start with an essential pillar of this action plan was to carry out the information campaign under the motto, "Are you a seasonal worker abroad? Get informed, work legally, and know your rights in order to be protected." A web section with this motto has been created on the ministry website, which includes information meant to contribute to informing seasonal workers prior to their travel abroad on aspects that they should be aware in advance, such as travel condition in the context of COVID-19, verification of the existence of specific framework condition for seasonal work, as well as knowledge of the essential aspect of signing employment contracts, mandatory clauses, remuneration, housing, etc. Of course, we have a web section on our ministry website as the foreign ministry with condition for entry in the EU countries in the COVID-19 context. Also, we put information in leaflets. We prepare these leaflets and distribute it in the order to inform seasonal workers who plan to travel for work abroad. These leaflets contains general information about the employment contract, recruitment agencies, working condition, housing, and the need to report abuse, as well as link to the information and contact details of the embassy and consulate. The leaflets were printed and distributed at workers' departure points. We had protocols with Ministry of Transport and Infrastructure and with the Ministry of Home Affairs. And based on these protocols, we were able to distribute these leaflets to inside the railway station, bus station, airports, border, and in airports, generally all means of transportation, including in the rural areas. In addition to dissemination of relevant information, the protocol of cooperation with the Ministry of Home Affairs also provides for control actions of the employment and temporary work agents. Thus, through information, verification, and control action carried out jointly with the labor inspectors or separately, the agents will also check how the measures and restrictions imposed in the context of COVID-19 pandemic are being implemented. In the same time, action were taken by the National Employment Agency aimed at informing citizens on condition to work seasonally. EURES personnel have started national and local information action for all job seekers who plan to work abroad on their rights and obligation on the labor market. EURES Romania is currently carrying out action to improve the direct channel of collaboration on seasonal work with EURES structures abroad. Actions taken by the labor inspection in order to raise awareness of legal entities that carry out mediation and placement activities abroad regarding the obligation they have and the legal framework in which they can carry out this activity by publishing information materials on the website of the labor inspection and on the website of the Territorial Labor Inspectorate and on the Facebook page of the Labor Inspectorate, information on the condition under which the activity of intermediation and placement of the labor force abroad can be legally carried out. Warnings about the consequences of carrying out this activity abroad. I would like to mention that this year, between March and April, the labor inspection held a campaign in order to check the observance by the legal persons that carry out mediation activities and placement of the labor force abroad. We somehow, like a statistic, we talk about 342 employment agents and 258 temporary work agents were subjects to this control campaign. Last but not least, I would like to emphasize that the key approach now, but also in the future, is a partnership at EU level between the relevant stakeholders in order to respond to the challenges faced by all categories of workers, which require an integrated responses from all authorities and stakeholders involved. Knowing that we all wish to respond to this challenge in a coordinated way, and I highly appreciated all the support of all our partners in respect of identifying the problems raised by Romanian workers, both in the field of labor relation, but also in health and safety at work. I wish to conclude by reiterating that the efficient and correct management of seasonal workers' mobility is in everyone's interest. Thank you very much for your attention. And I want to apologize, but I have to go on a meeting, and unfortunately I will not be able to respond to your questions, but I hope my presentation was sufficiently clear. And if there are some aspects that must be clarified in the next day, I can do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well, Mr. Secretary of State. We had the possibility to see and listen what are the preoccupations of different authorities from the European Union and from a national level in synchronizing and complementing each other. Now, I would very much like to go to the other speaker, but he announced he will be a little bit late. And we will have to see if we have questions. I have already recorded a question from the participants. I'm not sure whether Mr. Cosmin Boiangiu would be prepared to answer such a question. It concerns the implementation of Recommendation 2196. It concerns the impact of labor migration of left behind children. Do you have anything on this subject? Thank you.
This is indeed an important problem related to labor migration, labor mobility. It is a social problem, and it is associated with what we do, but is not exactly in our mandate to deal with this. But what we want to say is that we work to provide citizens, we work to provide individuals with the right informations about conditions of work, about conditions of living everywhere they choose to go. We do so, and we hope that by choosing correctly, they will also address and they will be able to better take care also of their families, and to deal with this problem that is indeed associated many times with the fate of people working and living abroad. We work, and we will work with other organizations, social partners, also to address these type of issues, but we don't have a direct mandate in this regard.
Thank you very much. Now, if there are other questions for our guests here, I would ask our participants. Well, we have nothing on chat, so we'll have to move on. We thank you very much for your intervention and the wise advice and insights that you have provided today. Thank you very much. We move on. I would like to ask now our colleague, Mihaela Pădureanu, to intervene and to make a presentation of our main tools in a way to make a passage towards the second session.
Thank you very much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for joining us today. I'll present to you the website and app developed during the project's implementation. These outcomes aim to promote the use of the technological tools provided by the project among the EU mobile citizens, and of course, other potential users who are encouraged to use them and to raise awareness on their rights. Now I will actually share with you the video. I hope you can see the screen. The video presenting the website.
Paul accepted an offer for a working position in France. He moved together with his family to a new country, and he is trying to organize himself for the best. Taking advantage of a trip to France to meet the new employer, Paul wants to expose how his wife could start business activity in France. Paul downloaded from the Play Store the Key for Mobility app to search information on the portal. Paul entered the platform through the app and select the country by clicking on the flag. He changes the language in which he prefers by clicking on the blue bar on the top of the screen. Navigating by the menu, Paul finds the section Employment, Business and Entrepreneurship, and it provides some useful information. Paul would like to find an office where he could go to have more details. The geolocalization tool could help him finding the right office and where it is located. Paul goes back to the main menu of the platform and scrolling the page. At the bottom, he is able to find the geolocalization tool. Paul digits his position where he actually is. This is the location of the office of his new employer. Paul can decide the radius distance between his position and the office he is looking for. He sets 100 kilometers. Clicking on all, a lot of options are displayed. He is looking for an office providing information about employment, business, and entrepreneurship. So he selects the category of the office he is looking for, then search. Perfect. The red marks on the map highlight the office he is looking for. Clicking on each mark, a description is also available. There are a lot of useful information. But with this tool, Paul can even have the direction to reach the office, because clicking on the link, Google Maps is displayed. Paul can easily reach the office, where he will be able to collect more information for his wife willing to start a business in France.
Thank you. We will stop here with this presentation, and we come back to our first session, inviting Director General from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mrs. Stefan Simian. Please, you have the floor. You have the microphone.
Yes, hello. I'm not sure if it works. Okay, can you hear me? I guess perfectly. I just wanted to have a brief intervention, because I would really like to express our appreciation to the organizers of the event, and also to the stakeholders that implemented the EUReKA project. We think that this project really is bringing an important contribution to the debate regarding labor mobility across the EU. The concrete results of the project, as we have seen before, the country reports, the Key for Mobility portal, and the handbook of good IT practices are important tools in our view, which provide strong assistance to the European citizens, including to Romanian workers, while enforcing their right to free movement within the EU, even after the conclusion of the project itself. So this is very important for us. In this sense, we are very glad that the ministry's website and the related travel safety app are acknowledged within the list of best practices in the EUReKA handbook on EU mobile citizens go digital. Now, as we have seen, the COVID-19 pandemic has highlighted the particular risks for mobile workers in the case of crisis, but at the same time, mobile workers have proven to be an essential tool for fighting the effects of the pandemic and for ensuring the sustainability of the internal market and of the European economies. They prove to concretely supporting a genuinely resilient European economy, and therefore we think that it is critical that the essential role and character of the mobile workers for the EU economy is fully acknowledged, something that the project does, and for this we are really grateful. Also, in this sense, the European Labour Authority plays an important role, agency which, by the way, was established during the Romanian presidency of the EU Council. And we are confident that the European Labour Authority will continue to perform a vital role in the efforts to improve the situation of the EU transnational workers. So in a nutshell, important steps have already been taken, but these efforts need to be pursued if we want to keep the issue high on the EU agenda. Actions taken so far need to be consolidated through implementation and through enhanced cooperation among member states. Once again, in the end, let me express our sincere appreciation to the EUReKA stakeholders and express our hope that such projects dedicated to the work mobility and related issue will continue also in the future. Thank you very much.
We thank you as well. Thank you for your intervention. Unfortunately, I have to announce you that Mr. Hari Panagopoulos from the unit of DG for Justice and Consumers, European Commission, the ones that made our project possible, sends his regrets, and he can no longer attend our meeting. Therefore, if you have any questions for our guests that already intervened in the first session, you are free to intervene now. Well, if not, we will just take a small break. It's 11:20, 15 minutes, during which we will be able to see on the video a few tutorials that our colleague Mihaela Pădureanu will put on. And then we will get back at 11:35 for the next session. Thank you. So it's an active break.
Thank you very much, Mr. Anashkam. So we've seen the first tutorial video about the website. We will continue with the second video tutorial. So these were the videos about the website. You can also download the application developed by the researchers, and you can also use the website. I'll put it here in the chat. The link for the website, and you can download the web in two ways. You can scan this QR code, and then you'll find the app is also available in the Google Apps and Apple Store. Or you can search it for yourself in the Google Play Store, or if you're using Apple, you can also search it by yourself, or you can use an application to scan the QR code and to install the application. Here is the website. And here is a video tutorial about the application.
Paul accepted an offer for a working position in France. He moved together with his family to a new country, and he is trying to organize himself for the best. Taking advantage of a trip to France to meet the new employer, Paul wants to expose how his wife could start business activity in France. Paul downloaded from the Play Store the Key for Mobility app to search information on the portal. Paul entered the platform through the app and select the country by clicking on the flag. He changes the language in which he prefers by clicking on the blue bar on the top of the screen. Navigating by the menu, Paul finds the section Employment, Business and Entrepreneurship, and it provides some useful information. Paul would like to find an office where he could go to have more details. The geolocalization tool could help him finding the right office and where it is located. Paul goes back to the main menu of the platform and scrolling the page at the bottom, he is able to find the geolocalization tool. Paul digits his position where he actually is. This is the location of the office of his new employer. Paul can decide the radius distance between his position and the office he is looking for. He sets 100 kilometers. Clicking on all, a lot of options are displayed. He is looking for an office providing information about employment, business, and entrepreneurship. So he selects the category of the office he is looking for, then search. Perfect. The red marks on the map highlight the office he is looking for. Clicking on each mark, a description is also available. There are a lot of useful information. But with this tool, Paul can even have the directions to reach the office, because clicking on the link, Google Maps is displayed. Paul can easily reach the office, where he will be able to collect more information for his wife willing to start a business in France.
And here we have a video presenting the website and also the application. So you are invited to visit the website and to download the application from one of the stores, Google or Apple Store. Thank you again for joining us and for attention, and see you again in a few minutes with the second part of the conference.
I believe we can start. Bogdan.
Well, wait a moment, technical issues to be solved, and there. Okay, so welcome to the second session of the final conference of the EUReKA project. We have 3 presentations which are supposed to be delivered here. The first one comes from Antonio Ricci, which is the general, let me find the exact name, the general manager of the EUReKA project. That means the guy who did everything and who basically pushed the project forward all the time. The second one will be from myself, and the third one from Marina Pirazzi, which is the external evaluator for the project. So I give the floor to Antonio, and he will talk for something like between 14 and 16 minutes, and then we'll have a round of questions in order to maintain the session vivid. So please be prepared to ask him about everything. Antonio, the floor is yours.
So thanks to the European Institute of Romania for organizing the today meeting, and thanks to all the distinguished speakers before me, and thanks to all the participants of today's conference. I will share a PowerPoint presentation. Just give me 1 second to share. Okay. I hope you can see easily. Please.
Actually, not
yet.
I mean, we can see something, but it's a very long vertical
Wait,
line.
I will do again. Is it okay now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, my task is to talk about the objectives and achievements of the EUReKA project, a key access to EU rights, a EU-funded project. Let's start. So, statistical data are a useful starting point. At the end of 2020, there are 13.4 million mobile EU citizens. Despite Brexit and excluding the UK, their number is growing year by year. People of all ages are represented among them. There are more than 2 million minors, for example, and many of them are born in intra-EU mobility. So in short, if their parents could be considered as experimenters with European citizenship, their children certainly represent its consecration. They are the purest example of what European citizenship means. But in everyday experience, free movement is not always a straightforward path because of many different obstacles, often just unexpected. These obstacles can prevent EU citizens in intra-EU mobility from accessing their rights and make life every day, the everyday life difficult for them. So there are many different cases. These obstacles can be the refusal of entry for a dependent third-country national family member, or the rejection of an application for municipality registration, the lack of access to welfare benefits, double taxations, or different forms of discrimination at work, at school, in access to social services, and so on. Discrimination usually takes place on the basis of nationality, and especially towards recent EU member states, or on the basis of ethnicity. So in such a case, especially towards Roma minorities, and sometimes also because of sexual orientation. So let me give Let me just give a quick example on the barriers related to the right of residence. EU citizens and their families are sometimes denied the right to register their presence in the EU country where they have decided to settle and run the risk to be expelled, to be deported. In such a cases, municipality registration could become a selective tool, deepening the degree of civic certification, which already characterize the system of legal statuses and rights on which the EU is grounded. It also exacerbates the practices of differential inclusion that affect the way EU citizens, not differently from the other migrants, are treated within the European societies. So the EUReKA project questioned stakeholders in several European countries, first through a questionnaire and then through several focus group interviews. And there were questions on the nature and the causes of the difficulties met by the EU citizens in mobility. One common factor clearly emerged. Surprisingly, it does not seem to be so much a question of regulation or procedural shortcomings as a problem of access to essential information about rights and the procedures to exercise them. Suggested solutions include providing online information on practical matters, developing electronic services, and providing information and assistance tailored to individual needs through, for example, a one-stop shop web portal provided by the public authorities. Finally, a set of IT recommendations was drafted on the basis of the stakeholders focus group interviews. According to the stakeholders, in fact, information could be made visible. Universal and user-friendly access should be provided. Useful, reliable, and up-to-date information should be selected pragmatically, and the quality should be assessed of the information, and if possible, it should be made also accessible in the languages of the newcomers, because as we know, there is no obligation for a mobile EU citizen to learn the language of the country where they decide to settle. So the objectives of the EUReKA project are finally revealed, so that the main one is contributing to facilitate the exercise of free movement rights and mobile citizens' inclusion and participation in the host member states through a joint local, national, transnational circulation of expertise and an advanced level of access and, in the same time, usability of digital information. To do this is possible by identifying, sharing, and disseminating good practices, developing and testing innovative tools such as the EUReKA portal and the Key for Mobility app, promoting the use of such technological tools, and promoting at the same time the awareness of EU mobile citizens about their own rights and also duties, of course, ensuring the networking among public and private stakeholders, enhancing visibility and dissemination of results, in this way supporting the transferability to other EU member states and the sustainability of the project outputs. Based on these objectives, a multi-target strategy was followed by the consortium, and avoiding to focusing all the resources only to the EU mobile citizens, but trying to have a multi-targeted approach, so to all the different kinds of stakeholders. Finally, based on these objectives, it was possible to develop and create the app and the EUReKA portal. And this meant for us the transition from exploration phase to the problem solving, or at least trying to contribute, to the problem solving. This was made possible thanks to the extraordinary commitment of Fondazione Mondo Digitale, which organized the contents and developed the digital architecture of the portal and the app by taking into account all the progress of the analysis collected, thanks to the web survey, the benchmarking of good practices, and the recommendation articulated at the conclusion of the focus group interviews. In the tools, on the one hand, we have an essential, brief but comprehensive guide to the rights of EU mobile citizens. And on the other, we can find a mapping of the existing services made available through a georeferencing system to facilitate an immediate access. The information and services provided range from the access to the municipality residency, to the labor market and business incentives, from social housing to educational programs, from the national health system enrollment to social security provisions, pensions. So all contents were then made available for 6 member states and in 4 community languages, the one of the country in question, and English, and the 2 languages of the most widely spoken communities on the ground. For example, for Italy, Italian, English, Polish, and Romanian, of course. This is the georeferencing system, the geolocalization system. And in this slide, you can see the QR code, thanks to which it's possible to download the app. And finally, the consortium produced a handbook on IT good practices. And this was possible thanks to a joint collaboration between EDOS and the European Institute for Romania. The handbook was prepared to assist in developing more appropriate approaches for the benefit of national and local officials, of all the stakeholders and practitioners involved in intra-EU mobility governance and services provisions, by providing meaningful data assessing barriers faced by EU mobile citizens, mapping and evaluating the existing IT tools. We tried to disseminate the set of findings of the research, and especially the set of practical recommendations gathered directly by the stakeholders, thanks to the commitment of the whole consortium. So, what are the achievements then? So, with the EUReKA, thanks to the EUReKA deliverables, the portal, the app, the handbook, we try to reach the following achievements: making the new technologies work for people and not for markets, by increasing citizens' quality of life and respecting fundamental EU values. Then building a digital environment where citizens are empowered in the private as well in the public domain, and where EU essential values and social achievements are preserved and constantly widened, strengthened. So enhancing the awareness of the target groups on EU citizenship rights, thanks to the implementation of local visibility and networking events. And finally, increasing expertise of national, regional, local experts to face intermobility challenges and supporting the inclusion and participation of EU mobile citizens. And this was the main aim of our handbook, EU mobile citizens go digital. In the light of all this, we like to think that the EUReKA project represents the invention that was missing. The invention useful to support the daily life of EU mobile citizens, to support daily life, dreams, and prospects of our EU mobile citizens. The EUReKA consortium is made up of 11 different partners: trade unions, local authorities, private and governmental research centers, non-governmental and civil society organizations. So the difference was our ground to work. And as lead organization, I would like to thank all the EUReKA consortium partners for their enthusiasm and their dedication in implementing the project. So here you can find the name of the organization. Later we will have a dedicated session to them. So last but not least, I would like to finish my presentation stressing that the EUReKA project was not possible without the strong support of the European Commission. So the continuous exchange of suggestions, comments from our policy officer, and of course, thanks also to the funding received by the whole consortium. So, thank you for your attention. Please don't hesitate to ask for more clarification, for more information, for more details. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much, Antonio. It was a very nice presentation, and you're just in time, so it's perfect for everyone. And now we are open for questions and comments for your presentation. So if anyone has to say something, please use the time to do it. Okay, I see no question in the chat for the moment, and I see no raising hands around. So maybe if you have any question, you can come a little bit later with them, if not now. And therefore we'll go directly to my presentation, for which I have to move from the screen to the other one. Here. Okay. And I have to share the screen, which is this one, and here you are. So within the project, I played the role of a scientist, and in this presentation, what I will do is to simply say a few things about how we have baked our entire project on some data, and focusing a little bit on the Romanian case, which is a little bit more peculiar in the context. I will also present a little bit of results just to have a flavor of what we have did. In fact, the whole story that I'm gonna tell is part of the road to getting our products and to getting this very nice and quite innovative product that Antonio had presented. We will see, so in the next few minutes, a little bit about the necessity of doing our endeavor, how we did it, and which are the findings that we find out. And I'm starting directly with a picture about Romania, which happens to be in the set of the countries that we are using within the project. The most peculiar one in the sense that it's not an immigration country, but an emigration country, meaning that there are Romanians who are living abroad, including Europe. There are currently something around 4 million within EU countries only, and we're receiving quite a small incoming flow of immigrants, despite having a lot of need in the labor market of them. If you look in the picture, the red line indicates the number of returning migrants. That means Romania, which emigrated abroad, and now they are coming back to the country, which is the most consistent incoming flow. And then you have some immigrants coming from the third countries, non-new countries, which happened to be almost equal in recent years with the returning migrants. And then we have this line, the blue line, which indicates the number of EU incoming migrants, which stabilize around 12 to 13,000 a year, which is not a lot. But let's note that this incoming flow, which is the flow that we're interested in, is composed of highly skilled migrants, and they have a quite high entrepreneurial potential, meaning that 4 out of 10 end up by living in Romania and being entrepreneurs and leading their own companies, which is not very usual for the Romanian population, which has a propensity to be entrepreneur of 4 to 5 times less than the one that we observe in these European migrants coming to Romania. And we also know from our studies that this kind of immigrants, in particular the ones which are coming to Bucharest, are experiencing a segmenting integration, meaning that they are coming and they don't leave respective, but they remain into the society for a longer period, and they mingle within the upper strata of Romanian society, having just a very inconsistent and filtered interaction of public systems and with the remaining of the society, and the knowledge of the public system is mediated through the interaction with the upper class of Romanian society, meaning that they actually need a lot of information about how the country looks like, and this is the country where they actually live for very long, and they start having children and so on and so forth. Again, about figures in this table, I simply put it the generation of newborn in 2020, and then the figures for the incoming migrants in a few European countries, including the one in the project, and with the Romania, which is highlighted, seeing that actually the situation of this country is not so different. We have quite a high variety in the total flow of incoming migrants as percentage of newborn, new generation. And if you look, you can say that it's about 8% of a new generation, which is made up of new Romanians coming from EU countries, new Romanian residents, which means that both society and migrants should be concerned with what happens with them in the country, meaning that despite not having such an country that attracts migrants, you still have a clear need for integration here, and the EUReKA project has a reason to exist even in such a poor country at our European border. And if I said integration, I have to remind you that integration is about opportunities, having information, being attracted to remain there, about non-discrimination, and mostly about the social system that Europeans are proud of, and they try to propose it as a European model. And again, we should discuss a little bit more specific for the case of Romania, because we are treating it as a very poor country, which it is. It's one of the poorest in the EU. But on the other hand, if you look to GDP per capita in the last 3 regions, you may see that you have this region over here, the one colored in blue, which happens to be Bucharest, which is richer than everything which is southern of it, including all Italian regions, all Spanish, Portuguese regions, and everything which is Spain except for Paris. Actually, the only European regions that are richer than Bucharest are here in Western Europe, in continental Europe, in Germany, Netherlands, Luxembourg, of course, but Luxembourg, as you know, it's different. Nothing in eastern parts of Europe are comparable to Bucharest. And of course, some might say that, okay, it's only about GDP per capita. After the distribution, things became different. In fact, after the distribution, because of the taxation rates and low taxes in Romania, Bucharest became richer in terms of available income per capita as compared to Paris. And again, nothing else is comparable. So this explains somehow why most of the EU migrants are concentrated in Bucharest. And when you talk about them, you should talk mainly about this area, with the observation that they start to be in other parts of the country as well. And now about our work here. Within this context, we had a similar method that we had in all the countries. And in all the countries, we had a survey of stakeholders, which intended to see which are their opinions about the existing tools for communication of EU migrants to the respective countries, and the stakeholders included both public clerk, migrants, embassies, and various NGOs, which gave us opinions about what already exists. Then, based on the survey, we had short list of sites that provided information to EU migrants, and we are evaluating these websites in a benchmarking exercise. And then we had some interviews with stakeholders to validate our findings. If I go back to the findings for Romania, here we notice that both from the survey and from the other tools, we observe that there is not so much information that is addressed to EU migrants. Then the stakeholders had very low knowledge on where to find information, and also about the existing regulations and what is actually useful for the migrants. For instance, public clerk knew basically what was in their domain, but nothing about which was not in their domain, and they were not able to direct actually the migrants to a place where to find information. And also we found a very low interest towards the proposed teams, meaning that we need to have a kind of communication strategy and to have tools that are addressing the needs of this kind of population. Also, if you look to the best 4 sites, the title of the graph remains in Romania, in Romanian language. So if you look to the graph, you notice that in fact, among the sites that you were screening, after we ranked them, the top 4, 2 of them came from the EU, actually from the Commission. One of them was produced by the Romanian authorities, and the other one was produced by a private company, meaning that you really need a lot of local development here, and you actually, as a public authority, you should consider about one should consider about having a consistent immigration policy, which actually completely lacks in Romania, despite a great need for labor force and an increasing number of migrants and of quota of non-EU migrants coming here. We don't have any kind of consistent immigration policy, and no sign that we might have a really good one. Just a little bit to see how we had 4 important criteria, but for each criteria we had sub criteria, and we aggregated the assessment that we gave by 2 colors for each criteria, for each for each site that we evaluated, and then we had some overall means showing how good the website is. And as you see, we didn't have a very good evaluation for any kind of website, but still this is important because we were able to notice that we need a lot of information to put on this kind of websites that the EUReKA project actually uses and already have it in the website. And we need to have English as a communication language, not Romanian, and this is something that we find out in other countries as well. So we have it in the EUReKA tool. And also specific for Romania, we need an awareness campaign that is directed to these stakeholders to understand what they can and where can what they can show to the migrants, and where the migrants can be directed in order to find information. So this is everything I wanted to be short, and I hope I managed to be in time. And I'm also open to question, and I will provide some answers if I'm able to. So the floor is to the room, and I'm eager to hear your comments and questions. Okay, it seems that we were either very clear, either very unclear, so nobody understood. I choose the first option. I mean, after Antonio was so clear, I was also clear, so we're very good in doing our job, so there is no question for the moment. And if there is no question for the moment, we'll go directly to Marina, which is the our evaluator, and I will give her the floor for the next presentation. Oh, I don't see Marina in the room. Wait a minute. As a matter of fact, I don't find Marina in the room. I was pretty sure that she's here. Julian, can you confirm?
I do not have information so far.
Okay, so she's not here. I checked within the participant list. She didn't show up. Okay. That's the strange thing with the online meetings, that you cannot see people and you are not able to tell all the time what happens. I can see that Antonio is trying to get in contact with her. We'll wait for a few moments and then we decide what to do.
Bogdan, sorry, I called Marina. She's coming in a few minutes. So she's sorry, but something was wrong with the data.
Computer.
Yeah, but she's coming. So just a while.
That's perfect. So we have time to talk and to say things. And I will ask a question to Antonio before everything. Antonio, be there because I'm asking questions. Okay, so what's next? You're the boss. You should know what is next. What we'll do next.
That's just time to reflect and to try to take a decision. So one of the consortium partner is working to draft an exploitation plan. So is the task of Tandem Plus. So we know that the portal and the app, but also the handbook, have a high potential, and they are very useful, and in the same time need of updating. And we know that the cost of implementing is relatively low, because now we have the infrastructure that is working, and we are called to find a way to maintain. But in the same time, the questions related to the future also linked to the networking among public and private organizations. So I think personally that the future of such a kind of tools are strictly linked to the cooperation with public offices. Such a kind of gateway should become also the providers of e-services. That's important. So, and all the information should be strictly recognized by the public authorities in the moment that the EU mobile citizens go to the desk asking or claiming for rights. That's the future. So the present, we had strong support from the European Commission, but the future is linked with the local level. So we need for each country and also for the transferability for the rest of Europe, we need a support, a clear support related to the provision of data, information, and so on from public authorities. So it's typical for Italy, the subsidiarity among public and private. It's our tradition. So NGOs are very strong in Italy, but and they work together with the public administration, criticizing but also implementing activities on behalf of the public sector. So that's the future. We need to exploit our links, our capacity to network, to activate the public sector, because without the public sector, all the set of information are vain, because often there is a mismatch among the application and what are the information. We were lucky because our information are very smart, because they come from trade unions, from practitioners, so they are already tested on a practical ways, but they are anyway operating information, they are exploring information. So it's important for the future to make stronger the link with the local authority. That's my opinion.
Oh, perfect. So I get that we learn from it, we learn from each other, and we are also trying to transfer everything to other countries and to improve everything. I can see that Marina is already in the room, but I'll not give her the floor for the moment because I see a hand which is raised from Miruna Kavajnan. Sorry. Miruna, the floor is yours.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for your work. I'm currently now on the on the app, and I followed your speeches. So I'm very interested in the returning flow for the Romanian diaspora, for instance, and I would like to know more. And the second question is, what is the future for the app? Because for me, it's like a good beginning, but not enough, because the European mobile citizens need more information, and the information needs to be updated, and there is a need for the community, for instance, for the Romanian community in Italy, to be updated, for instance, for the pandemic rules, which are changing every month, and secondly, to be in contact with the institutions. And it's also important, because the institution have to be present and to be in contact with the citizens. So what can you do about these issues, and where can we find more about the returning flow of the Romanian or the Romanians which are going, for instance, from Italy to France or to other countries?
I will very briefly address the topic of returning Romanians, and then I will let Antonio to say if he wants to add something about the future. So basically, the returning flow is not part of the tool for the moment, but normally it applies to BAM as well, and it is a topic that we should consider for development. At the moment, from my experience with studying the returning flow of Romanians, is not really a returning flow, but actually circular migration. They are coming and going, and this is something that happens already for 20 years. And basically, most of them which are returning are leaving again. Myself, I'm a repeated return migrant, and for the moment, I'm stable. It's already 7 years, I think, since I'm been back to the country, and I didn't leave. So, but you know, migration is fluid. You never know what will happen. And I'm looking to you, which I know that you are kind of in between countries all the time. So maybe you are in the same situation. So that's all for the moment for the return migrants. So Antonio, if you want to add something about the future.
Yeah, thank you for the question, because that's our main worry at the moment, what is the future. Because there are two phases. The first one is the testing phase. So we need to know if the system is working, or what are the contents lacking, or what are the improvements to the architecture of the app and the portal. At the same time, we need to update the contents, so to give a daily life to portal and the app, because we think that they are very important tools. So, but to do that, of course, we need to cover the cost of not only gathering info, because for most part of the partners, this is a daily work that they do implement normally. And I think to Patronati, Italian Patronati, or to trade unions. But in the same time, it's a matter of development, IT development. So we are confident that now we have the structure. It's well done. It's we tested with our stakeholders. Now we are testing with the whole community of the EU mobile citizens. And after the feedback, we will try to manage to have a future. And of course, this means, for example, targeting the national and local bodies attached to the protection or implementation of EU mobile citizens' rights. For example, in Italy, this is the task of the quality body, and but nobody knows that. So maybe this could be an occasion for our equality body to have a tool to do what is what they are entrusted to do. So, and we can do an exchange, we can maintain, and of course they have a set of information in addition to put in the portal, but of course, this is a very delicate moment. So, because we need to be proactive in the dissemination. If the dissemination will be successful, I'm confident that the cooperation with public bodies and with the other NGOs or civil society organization will be strong. So that's why this is the final conference of the project, but it's the beginning of our future. So let's cross the fingers, but we will be very strict, straightforward in promoting and asking for further cooperation in order to give a future of these tools. And all the partners worked a lot. And I think all the partners are proud for what they've done. And so we believe that that EUReKA tools deserve a good future.
Thank you.
Well, thanks, Antonio. Thanks, Mirta, for asking. We are giving the floor to Marina, and we are looking forward to see what she has to say about the project. So, Marina, we are happy that you managed to join us. The floor is yours.
Forgive me for not being here before. I'm going to try and share my screen so that I can show you the slides. I hope everything works. It's always a delicate moment in my experience. Is it working?
Yes.
Yes, for the moment it's working, but
you cannot see the presentation. Oh,
and you can see the presentation is perfect.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to concentrate my presentation on what is available now. Not all the results of the evaluation are ready to be shown here. And so I will focus on just one part of the evaluation, also mentioning the fact that the evaluation, the approach we adopted was a collaborative, the approach of a so-called collaborative evaluation. So it means that we work together with the partners all along the project life. But let's see what we have now. I have to mention that we had a pre-test to assess the quality of the two main tools, the website and the app, in July. That was the first version of the two tools, and we submitted to a limited number of people a long and articulate questionnaire assessing 6 quality dimensions. This contributed to the improvement of the two tools. But what I'm going to focus on today is the result, the outcomes of the short questionnaire that we submitted to a sample of stakeholders from the 6 countries partner in the project. And this questionnaire, very short questionnaire, was meant to assess one of the important specific objectives of the project, the enhanced awareness of the EU citizens, mobile EU citizens, about their right to move freely. So the 3 dimension, as you can see, is the provision of knowledge not available so far in one stop shop, in a comprehensive tool. The help that these tools provide to show that EU citizens have a right to move freely, and this right is supported by single member states and the European Union, and to convey the message that any EU citizen is entitled this right, including those citizens who belong to categories at risk of discrimination, as you can see the list here. So who are these stakeholders? According to the country of residence, they are all the partner countries except Germany. We didn't receive the questionnaires from Germany, and they amount to 106. The most of them come from France and Croatia, but we also have 14 from Portugal, etc. Who are these stakeholders? We have 21 EU citizens who moved from one country to another. We have local authorities and regional or state public administration. They amounted to a total of 26. Then we have 24 non-governmental or civil society organizations who work in this field, and 26 others, and 9 trade unions. These others, which is quite a high figure, might be interpreted as media professional, embassies, anti-discrimination experts, and so on. So the first dimension to be assessed was the capacity of the two tools to contribute to increase the access to relevant information and knowledge compared to the current offer. If you look at the strongly agree and agree, you can see the light blue and the orange. You can see that the total amounts to 25% of positive answers and 32% negative answers on the other side. 16 people are uncertain about what to answer. How do these stakeholders distribute within the individual groups? To make it quicker, I draw some green arrows to pinpoint the positive answers within the groups of local authority, trade unions, and regional or state public administration. Always remember to sum up the orange and the light blue. So these people distribute themselves more easily on the positive side, whereas we have a slightly more negative, please weigh all my words that are more, I mean, reality is more nuanced than my words. But yes, we have these EU citizens who are slightly more negative. The second dimension is the capacity to contribute to the trust of the European citizens in the European support and the member state support. Again, if we look at the positive answers, strongly agree and agree, we have, I think we have 51%, we have 35 negative, and 14 uncertain. Let's have a look at the distribution again within the individual groups, and we have again a slightly more negative opinion expressed by EU citizens and non-governmental organizations, whereas local authorities, regional or state public administration, and I might say also trade unions remain stable on a more positive inclination. Third dimension, the capacity of the two tools to make EU citizens more confident in moving from one country to another, regardless that they are belonging to these categories or at risk of discrimination. Here we have a total of 32 and 16% positive, and 30% negative, with an increase of uncertainty up to 22%. The distribution within the groups, the individual groups, is basically the same that we saw before. More positive opinions by local authority and regional or state public administration, trade unions, and more negative opinions by EU citizens and non-governmental or civil society organizations. So these questionnaires, this questionnaire was submitted, I don't know if I mentioned it before, to the stakeholders who participated in the second round of the 10 national networking and campaign events. And to sum up, I say it again, we have a 52% of positive evaluation about the information available, 51% positive evaluation about the trust, the increase in the trust, and 48% in the area of possible fear of discrimination. We also collected, I must say, a good number of free comments. I selected a few of them just to show that they don't help to untie the knot of this picture, showing that we are in the middle of the journey, I think we could say. So we have, as you can see, a rather negative comment from a local authority in Croatia. The website is utterly difficult to manage, and basically it doesn't reach the people who who are most in need of it. On the other side, the EUReKA website is user-friendly, well-designed. Again, sorry, I have to put this here. Yes, from France, EU citizen, I'm very glad to discover this application. I wish I had it when I needed it. France, again, good idea, but some areas are incomplete. I just end this show on the free comments with these two comments because I think they are the one from Italy. It raises a practical issue, and the other one is more inspirational. The map should include more places to refer to concerning the the geolocalization, in a way to include all the Italian regions and avoid discrimination between South and North, mainland and Isle. I think it's interesting. It should be developed. I believe it could be applied to other countries as well. Maybe this is a future that the project could address. I don't know. I leave the answer to to Antonio and all the other partners. The other comment from Portugal is, I think this kind of information is, if easily accessible, is crucial, and it's becoming more and more crucial because people want to move freely and they are in search of their best opportunities. I think it's my duty to mentioned as well, just as examples, because they were many, mention some examples of, I call them technical challenges that the project had to face. First of all, the adaptation of all the events and activities to the COVID crisis. What does this mean? It means that not only people had to come to terms with meeting virtually, but imagine that all the 20, again, for example, all the 20 networking events had to be completely replanned in their methodology, in the methods they utilize, etc. Also, it meant that in some countries, Italy particularly, the staff who had to implement the project had a reduction, a clear reduction of working hours. So you can imagine the impact that this could have. Again, another very technical point, which is, I think, important, is that a website and the app like this one need to be, as it has been said and noted, a constant update. In order to comply with this task, there are staff members in all the countries and the partner organization who have direct access to the system. And this, of course, raised the difficulty of managing such a complex system. And I want also to mention, with his own words, a point raised by Norbert from Germany, which I think is really significant of the thought that the partners had to provide in order to select the information to upload in this system. So if in a middle city, in a town in Germany, you have to select among almost 150 relevant advisory centers, the issue is really significant. I come to my last slide. I know that this doesn't come new to this conference. The challenge ahead is sustainability. And to collect the words that people I interviewed sent, the key words are these: improved content, meaning especially more complete and constantly updated. For this, the flexibility of the tools is needed in terms also of information technologies applied. Promotion and advertising is what Antonio just mentioned, and the quality of the information provided, it has to be improved. Let me say one last thing. I don't know if I'm running out of time. Please let me know. Just one thing. I want to stress the point that it goes without saying that there is no website or app that can make up for the differential inclusion, the power of administrative borders. I'm quoting directly from the handbook, and the legal and criminal exploitation of laborers, so clearly explained in the handbook, which I want to stress is, according to me, another outstanding output of the project. And I think that the handbook itself could be an excellent guide for the future life of these two main outputs. Thank you. I have finished. And if there are questions, I'm ready.
Okay, my internet froze for a moment, but I'm back in. Thank you for the presentation. You are just in time. That's perfect. And we have a few minutes left for questions. And I invite everyone to okay, from time to time, my computer says that my internet connection is unstable. So please come and ask if you want to ask anything. Okay, we have a comment into the chat, and I think Marina is for you. It says that it's coming from Tanya Milosh. And it says that what would you suggest as a legislation point of view? And I think that the question is, what could be done on EU level and national level? You are mute.
What a challenging question. Honestly, I don't know, but I believe that I strongly believe that this could be a floor for a future European project. Because again, as I said, these tools work and are really helpful if we solve some issues at even local level, as the handbook, and correct me if I'm wrong, Antonio, but one of the focus on section particularly elaborated on this point. And so I think that although it's not in the power of one European project to solve everything at this level, but at least to campaign and advocate for such a change could be. I don't know if Antonio wants to.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Marina. And sometimes it's not only a matter of regulation, but it's a matter of application of these regulations. So on a theoretical basis, we have we have a good provisions, legal provision, but on practical terms, when they are implemented on a local basis, mismatch could happen. So in Italy, for example, we had a long experience on this matter because when, for example, Romania entered the EU, we have a wave of different interpretation by local municipalities as regards the provision to be showed to obtain the, for example, the municipality registration. That's why we say in the handbook that even the municipality registration became a legal status, not a practical and administrative fact, but it's a legal status for EU mobile citizens. It's a matter of course, behind the regulation, sometimes there are also political attitudes. So so we have to, I think, to solve the issue. For example, in a future project, as Marina suggested, it could be important to point out on advocacy campaigns in order to discuss the policy matters behind the different application of the regulation on a local level. So we need to understand. So, and we know the Italian experience very well, and we know that sometimes behind this kind of different interpretation of the regulation, there is a formal discrimination attitude from the institutions. And Italian lawyers and Italian trade unions are very busy on trials in order to solve such a kind of issues. So, and yeah, I think this is a good idea for a next step for the project and for the whole consortium.
Well, thank both of you. We are very, very close to the end of this session. In the meanwhile, I answered some of my in the chat, and I was posting on Milena did the same, the link for live streaming if you want to distribute it. So is there any other question or comment? If not, I should declare the session closed. Thank you to all presenters, and I hope that everyone enjoyed the presentations. And I let Julian I let him say as master of ceremony to inform us what will be next.
Okay, thank you very much for this interesting part of our conference. We have learned so many things about what we have done that, well, we couldn't understand before that we do understand now. Now let's go on with our normal session and discuss the issue, we are EUReKA. This is a part where stakeholders and partners are together and discuss what they have learned, what they have to comment or to say about the project, and why not for future steps. Let me give the floor to our colleague Norbert Kreuzkamp from Germany. Yes, Norbert, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm speaking here from Tübingen in Germany, and I'm very grateful to all the colleagues and to the speakers that have given their contribution up to now. We are just going on without a break. Well, brief comments, statements and thoughts of stakeholders, and other participants. Who is EUReKA? Who are the partners? Who is the team? We have heard some very rich contributions from European, Romanian, and Italian partners and stakeholders. I'm very thankful for the high level of reflection, both in terms of analysis and in terms of future orientation of these contributions. I would love to invite our partners and stakeholders now in Croatia, France, Germany, and in Portugal to take the floor and to give us some ideas about their experiences, their perspective, their views, and how they localized the proposed project and the proposed instruments. How did you contribute to the development? How would you see and consider the use, the benefit, and the project tools for mobile European citizens? In this short session, I would like to invite, as a first step, Sofia Silva. Maybe you will see Julia Basto, Tanja Milos, and but I would like to invite certainly all partners, also Italian partners, other partners, and stakeholders to take the floor if you feel so. Maybe Sofia, I would like to start with you. I want to address you, and you are the representative of ANJAF. This is a national-wide organization in benefit of families, and you have participated for Portugal to that project. I think it would be really interesting for us to get some short ideas about the objectives of and our product from your specific Portuguese point of view. Maybe it could be helpful to understand better the traditions of mobility of Portuguese workers and their families coming to our countries in Europe. In these days, we are receiving very good news about how the Portuguese political management of the Corona crisis is having good results. All mobility in Europe depends on a good management and a good success in fighting the pandemic. And the pandemic was a little bit parallel to this European project, EUReKA. What can we learn from Portugal? How are the instruments can be used by Portuguese mobile workers and by other European workers coming or wishing to come to Portugal? How could this support families coming to your countries and coming from your countries in moving in Europe? Please, Sofia, take the floor.
Good morning to all. Thank you, Norbert. I hope you are all well. I'm talking from ANJAF, that is working at national level, but we have our main work done in Lisbon, in the city of Lisbon. We are an NGO that was founded in 1989, and we work, as Norbert said, with families. Not with mobility is not our specific main target, but also we work in a parallel way with some migrants, not just Europe, but from other countries like Africa or Brazil and so on. Our experience on EUReKA from Portugal, really it was a tough task, also because it came in a very hard time for all of us, of course, not just for ANJAF, but working with mobility in the time that we are stuck and close at home, not in my case because I work every day in the office, but most of the population. It was a really very, very hard task, even to have more succeed in the answers and for the collaboration of stakeholders. It was, I think it was tougher because people were with lots of work with Zoom meetings and so on and so on. So they didn't reply so fast as we should, as we wish for to our communications and our asking them to be involved in the project. It was really, really hard, really. For this tool, I think it's a very useful tool in all countries, not just in Portugal. I know that we have lots of students that come to Portugal to do their Erasmus and not so for their degrees. There is lots of students from Europe that like to be here in Portugal. I don't know why. Maybe because of the weather. I don't know. But we have I know that field, and we have lots of people, young people coming to Portugal. And the app, it's for new people, because we know that elderly people are not so good in new technologies. So for a app is a very good tool for these students that want to come to Portugal. I will answer for Portugal. We have a little bit concern about application, because this year the main Portuguese public institute that are in the application, that is the Service of Frontiers, will be closed. So all the information sites will move, and that is a concern for the future of the application. But we cannot do nothing about it, but it's a concern, because I don't know if they will still have it open and make a direction for the other entities that will assume their jobs or not. So this can compromise the application when people go to look for the service in Portugal. Okay, this is a concern in our case. For the project, we have three good tools: the site, the handbook. We already disseminated a lot at embassies, universities, local administration, and so on. But I really didn't have no feedback. I have a feedback from a stakeholder that it was very good related to the handbook. But I don't have any more feedbacks to give to you. Sorry, it's very soon. This dissemination starts very early, like 1 month. I start 1 month ago, so I don't know. We don't have yet the results. And I think it's all for Portugal, Norbert, and all of you. If you have any question, please.
Sophia, thank you very much indeed. I think this was quite useful to have your point of view and your specific point of view on, also critical point of view on the project. Maybe just a very simple and stupid but a European question that I tried to raise already earlier. You have very good a good situation now in Portugal, according to what we know about the pandemic situation. And it seems that in Portugal you were very successful. How can we learn from Portugal? What do you think?
I really don't know. I know that we have the higher number of vaccinated people in Europe. We have 86.2, I think. It's the last percentage I saw. But I really don't know why. Maybe we had the management, the entity that was in front of the vaccination change. First, it was our social security, and then they put a person from the military force, and so the strategy and the methodology changed a little bit, and maybe that was a reason we succeed to have more people vaccinated. But for the results now is increasing the number of people contaminated. Not the deaths, but the people that are in the hospitals and people that are with the virus. So I don't know really if it was so successful like that, like you are saying, Norbert. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sophia. You will understand, both you, Sophia, and also the audience, that for our project, EUReKA, the question of mobility and the question how this is possible during and also with the pandemic is a really fundamental question. And it involves our project in a quite strong way. I personally still have to decide if I will assist to a meeting in France in December. All people here in Germany do not yet know if they would give me advice to do or not. We just got this morning the information that they will change the booster policies on booster, the third vaccination now in Germany. So our project is quite linked to the actual situation and the actual debate within Europe that is in part strongly European, but it's in part strongly national and regional. And to put forward not only information, but to put forward possibilities of advice, I think is a very, very important question and a very challenging task for our products and the question how these products can support. I'm not very sure if our French colleagues are still with us. I see that they are locked in, but I cannot see them right now. I would have loved to ask them for just a very short moment to take the floor and to give us some feedback. I understood that in France, Brigitte told me that in France the experiences were quite similar to what has happened in Portugal. I heard that there was quite an intense collaboration between Portugal and France. So if I cannot reach them, Brigitte or Valérie in this moment, I would like to address Julia. Julia, you are in Italy, but Julia, you are the person who is dealing with the so-called Tandem Plus network. In the last partner of the project is not a national one, but it's a European network, Tandem Plus. And I'm not sure if I can see you now and if I can reach you. But certainly,
yes.
I would like you to take the
Yes.
floor for a moment. That's
yes. Here I have Robert. Can you hear me?
great. I hear you. Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. I'm Julia, and I'm the coordinator of Tandem Plus Network, which is partner of the EUReKA projects and a European network, which brings together your organization coming from 9 European countries. So it is like an umbrella organization who have a varied degrees let the partners and the members to be acquainted with the products of the EUReKA projects through newsletters and announcements and during our general assemblies. So I can give you just an overview of the feedback I received from various actors and stakeholders. The feedback has been very positive in terms that EUReKA, on how EUReKA has helped to somehow to clarify things, to put them within everyone's reach, topic that seems so confusing in this historical period, in a current way, let's say so. So in a period where there's a strong warring patchwork of approaches, you know, everything, it's really crazy depending on the local situation, national ones. And I think that this is the EUReKA greatest merit to clarify things, to make a big step in trying to put pieces together, and that we need to restart or at least follow up on these steps from our products, from our intentions, from our missions, to somehow face the storm on the mobility systems and try to do our part to restore confidence. This is, I think, the most challenging topic in Europe now, and this is the greatest merit accomplished by the EUReKA partnership. And to my members, I had the occasion to talk to. So again, this is also an occasion to thank the World Partnership. It has been challenging for all of us, being also somehow stuck, in the experimentation, in the developing. We never stopped, and besides, we develop even more curious and rich content that stay even more aligned with our historical period. So congrats to all the partnership for accomplished results.
Yes, Julia, thank you very much indeed for your contribution. If there is any other partner who would like to take the floor, please give me a sign, maybe by the chat or something. I would later ask Tanya to take the floor for the city of Zagreb, but maybe just some words. We do have one German stakeholder with us, but just some words from Germany and about Germany. There's a strong conviction that we need Europe, that our country takes quite some advantage of being surrounded by European partners and friends. And on the other hand, the European Union and its bureaucracy is often in our country used as a scapegoat by local, regional, and also federal politicians and opinion leaders for a lack of democracy and a lack of proximity between citizens and decision makers. The corona pandemic did not support us in getting new ideas about that. Many citizens probably agreed that vaccine procurement was solidly based in Europe, but the credit of European structures could soon be used up. Hardly any real specific issue in connection with the pandemic could be solved and could be linked on a German perspective, on a citizen perspective, by the European Union last year. And also the German president of the European Commission did not really change that. From a German perspective, it might be quite difficult to admit that Portuguese and Spanish corona management seem to be quite more successful, and that the somewhat grandiose and even sometimes a little bit arrogant assessment of the equipment and quality of the German health system may have reached its limit in the current fourth wave of pandemic. Well, we do all love Europe and we do all love the European Union, but in Germany, we sometimes think that the nearest solution is the best solution. So Europe is quite far sometimes. We are not so accustomed in Germany in the public discourse to admit that most of or many of innovative activities in the last, let us say, 30 years in Germany did also come from Europe. Many stimulus came from there. So how is this European instrument, EUReKA, now, how can this be used and what is the ambience of that? We do have in Germany quite a lot of very highly specified advice centers. And if I come to a little city and I want to know something, there are many desks I go to. If I want to be informed how to go to Germany, there are quite a lot of information desk and also information desk with quite specific and highly loaded information. So what is the issue for Europe, for our European EUReKA products? I think we do have some contacts and some experiences with some stakeholders. We had in the last July meeting, we had a very important stakeholder that is working on a quite federal level fair mobility, and we are in contact with them. We are in contact with BWQ-Bildung und berufliche Bildung. This is a reality that comes out from Südwestmetall. That's the quite strong electronic and mechanic industry in Baden-Württemberg. We do have a quite interesting relation to the Welcome Center in Stuttgart. That is quite an interesting activity and a good model. We are involved in the advice for Italian mobility, European citizens that come to Stuttgart and the Stuttgart region. So we will have still with these people the possibility to see how our project, how our products can be implemented in their work and how we can support this. So this is a little bit of situation in Germany. I think it's an excellent instrument. It's a very quick instrument to be used as an app. And as some colleagues told, it will be important that it is always on, always renewed, that the information will be always on top of the reality. Well, this is also a little bit a short introduction about situation in Germany. But now I would like to ask Tanya to see, to give us some contribution from the Croatian point of view. I know that many people from Croatia have a long tradition in moving in Europe. And I see that there's a quite strong European intention and perspective in your country. I would like to ask you, how do you think that this instrument can be used in your country? And what is the perspective on Europe and European mobility in this very moment from the Zagreb point of view? Please.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Norbert, for the opportunity to speak, and hello, everyone participating in this conference. So my name is Tanya Miloš. I am working in the city of Zagreb, and we enjoyed participating in this project because we discovered a lot of opportunities to improve, and also picked up a lot of issues that need to be resolved. It's an interesting day today because it's a national holiday and it's a Remembrance Day of the last domestic war being one of the reasons why Croatian citizens have immigrated towards Europe in search of safer environments and job opportunities. It has a lot of history going from the Second World War, where a lot of Croatian citizens have moved to Germany to work and send money back home and to provide for their families. So we know about mobility and everything. So this brings a new aspect. Doing this project has opened our knowledge into the complexity of laws and bureaucracy and how it implements. By the law, all the European member citizens, all citizens are equal with Croatian citizens, so they have all the rights as the Croatian citizens, but implementation of that is quite tricky. Language being the first issue. Croatia in its educational system gives a lot of focus on languages and people knowing languages, but it goes from a certain age, so not everyone is encompassated into it. So there is an issue with requiring information and needing something from the authorities in regards to understanding and being able to communicate with them. That was one of the issues that presented itself when we talked to people who are European citizens who live in Croatia, when we had virtual conferences due to the pandemic. And they all say that they got along because they had someone from Croatia go with them to do the paperwork and to be able to get some answers and to be able to get the documents and everything. So that is one of the main issues that represented itself. Also, when we did basic research, that a lot of information is not so available in English, in just the basic English coming from the States. So we had a lot of talk that the issue of mobility needs to, unfortunately, it needs to involve the government. Like this is a good project in meaning to give out information where to look for everything, but it all stops at government level. We as a city had an approach that we have a reputation that we can approach the government. We can approach the government agency and communicate to them, listen, we are doing this project and the feedback is this, and we invited them as stakeholders to participate in the feedback, search what we can do. And this is, yeah, but it stops at that level. You have this border stops at that level, and it's an above decision that cannot be made easily. And it needed an approach. Of course, we are talking about mobility in a time of pandemic when all the focus is on how to manage the pandemic, how to keep everyone safe, how to keep everyone obeying the rules. So there's a lot of dismissal when it comes to our project, no matter how good it was. They had other priorities, you know, so it was, there were short periods of time when you can discuss other things. Then you have certain periods of times when it was, okay, we need to talk, numbers are rising, people are dying, the numbers are off the roof, we need to keep everyone safe and stuff like that. So COVID didn't help. And actually, I think it's pretty peculiar to see, like, we talk about the EU, we talk about the fundamental rights, about mobility, and that member states have committed for laws to be accessible and to be somewhat equal, for people to be able to be mobile citizens and to enjoy their rights and not to be taken advantage of everything. And now you have the pandemic, and now you have real test of the basic rights of the European Union. So it created a discussion. It created the discussion and started asking questions, which is good, because it means that they're taking into perspective the good and the bad. So we have also communicated that there are a lot of Croatians being a lot of mobile citizens in Europe. We also have European citizens here in Croatia, even before the European Union. So the city of Zagreb has a good relations with minority NGOs that are also facilitators of what the EUReKA project is. They were EUReKA before the platform. So it was interesting to talk to them. They were one of our stakeholders, and we asked them what they think of this, and they welcomed the project. Because everyone says, I wish I had all those informations before I started, before I wanted to move. And they all say it's a complex issue. And they confirm that people are searching minorities within the country, and they're using it as an information platform on how to get the right information, what to do, and everything, without being taken advantage of. For example, I have a lot of friends that are working abroad, and one thing they have to rely on are agencies that are providing services of doing employment in certain countries and everything. But the main issue is that you have to remain vigilant and redefine it by yourself, because they're not, your best interest is not in their best interest. So it needs to be, you cannot go easy into that area. So this app is really welcomed. We also asked the question about sustainability, because, as I said, it involves the laws, legal procedure that are above our influence. And we all know that laws change like on a whim, as we can say, like suddenly you don't need that form, they find another one and everything. Also, I would like to point out that when we did research for the platform and everything, when we went through the regulations that was set up for the European citizens and how it applies, there's a lot of contradiction between the authorities. What some authorities require in case of welfare and social security, and what is required when you're asking a permit, living permit, or when it goes into getting a job and everything. And one of the feedback I got from the people, EU citizens that work here, is they find it easier to do a startup, to start their own business, that it's much easier than getting a job. And then by the company, or in Croatia, language being a barrier, because if someone wants to do business with you, it's not a problem, and they can discuss it in English. It's not an issue, but language being Croatia predominantly and quite difficult to learn, people are hesitant and more willing to start their own business than to work for someone else. So it's quite a plethora of information that we got from this project, but it's definitely, it's something that was relevant, and it's something that is relevant. And unfortunately, with the domestic situation here, it's still going to be relevant. We are still waiting for the official numbers of how many citizens are living in Croatia, because we had a lot of migration towards Europe in the last couple of years, and it has affected measures, it has affected laws and everything. So we are still waiting on the official number. We all know a lot of people have immigrated to Germany, being favorable because of the history and reputation that you can earn actually money in Germany and send something back to your folks. Also, a lot of young people and faculty educated have immigrated, and that is something that is in demand in Europe, because we have the education system here in Croatia is quite good, And whenever someone goes outside, he is valued as an expert in that field, as a knowledgeable person. So a lot of people have immigrated, and countries are really welcoming of such educated people and are willing to help them out. One of the reasons. Sorry.
Tanya, thank you very much. I have looked always in my chat to see if there's anybody else who would like to raise the hand and would like to take the floor. It seemed to me that it is not so. I would like to conclude this session now because a little bit late, but I think it is wonderful. It was very useful, Tanya, that you showed us also how deep the question of information and advice is. Maybe a last thing about Germany. We do have a lot of work and we do need a lot of workers, but the houses are missing. So if the people come, the advice, or you can say, you can find a house is not a good advice. They have to be, it's a real big issue to find a house for a family that needs a house. And this is not only in Stuttgart and in Berlin and in Munich the case, this is in many places the case. So, and we do know that it is not only the information, just go there and go there. I think that the tool, the instrument is really needed to give and to give more information who I should contact, who should I try to help me in with my situations. We do have and I think this is also linked a little bit to the pandemic situation. We do have a very strong focus of administration in make the things working. But what we called citizen orientation of public administration, the pandemic showed us how strongly this is needed. And we don't have a better performance today than 10 months ago or 2 years ago. We have a more difficult situation for the administration. If they do homework, they don't have all their documents with them. So I assume it is the first information that we can give, and the instruments can create some feasibility and some confidence. But what is really needed that all the NGOs, all the public administration, all the relevant offices and advice offices and centers are really do work with the people, and they will need a little bit more than they needed maybe 3 years ago. The language option is excellent in this tool, and I think it is needed. Also, this to create confidence and to create better understanding. I would like to conclude this session. I think the partners in their different ways have tried to link the project and the development of the instrument and the distribution of the instrument to their local situations. Marina, I'm sorry that you have not yet received all the information about Germany. This will follow. But I hope that this short session with the partners showed how rich and how diverse the management and the implementation of such a project is. Thank you very much to you all. And I give the floor back to, I think, to Antonio.
Thank you. Thank you, Norbert. And I will try to conclude. So we spent a morning together, feeding our brain, exchanging ideas, and I could say enriching each other's. And that's one of the main features of the EU citizenship. Trying to conclude, my first concern is not to forget to say thanks. First of all, to the European Commission for having chosen this project among those ones to be funded under the Rights, Equality and Citizenship budget line. So the Commission gave us the opportunity to challenge a big effort, and we did. So then, thanks to the European Institute of Romania for the active and enriching collaboration along all the duration of the project, but especially for organizing this final conference. A big thank you to all the partners for the continuous exchange with which we have developed the implementation of the project. It was really enriching for me, but for each other, I could say. And a big thank for the audience. I've seen the list of participants, and they come from many different countries and many different organizations. So thank you for taking up our invitation. So we hope very much that this can be a start for a future collaboration. The EUReKA project formally will end in a few weeks, but the partners will continue the efforts to disseminate the deliverables and remain at your disposal for any queries, clarification, and so on. As I told you before, the members of the consortiums are also preparing an exploitation plan, a memorandum of understanding, in order to take a commitment to continue to assess how we can do this, what is the self-sustainability of our deliverables. And EUReKA has been like an experiment that still needs time to be tested. We have listened from the last session. We needed maybe more time to test, but it's also an experiment that covers an obvious gap in the public administration. So it's something very needed, something very useful. So in the same time, EUReKA is one of the main opportunities created by the same EU through its policies and the corresponding funding. So the Commission trusted us in our effort. So we hope very much that in the short, medium term, we will be able to establish new fundings or to enlarging the partnership in order to ensure the future sustainability of the IT tools and the handbook, the other outputs. Much remains to be done in terms of deepening, widening, for example, the coverage of the territories or the coverage of the contents. So the categories to be phased and so on. And thanks to Marina Pirazzi, the external evaluator, we could check what we can do more, where we have to go deeper. And in the last few days, moreover, we have seen a considerable interest in EUReKA on the social media. For example, from many EU citizens, but also from many different countries, but also from many European citizens who are not yet part from the Union. And this is a sign for me, no? Because there is a positive potential of transferability that's clear to the rest of the EU. But above all, it's a sign that also the rest of Europe, outside the EU, considers the free movement of persons as a fundamental right, as a fundamental value. So that's something that we can export to be proud. That's why we have to ameliorate, improve the exercise, the effective exercise of free movement. So after the misstep of Brexit, this extension certainly represents a sign of hope for all of us, make us more strong as our feelings to be European citizens. And in this sense, the EUReKA digital tools are functional and practical. In their current form, they are free and make everyday life easier for Europeans. And however, the information comprised relates only to 6 countries, over 27. So the effort to expand and include new countries is minimal, in my opinion. So, and we have to try to find a way to do this. And in this sense, I think that all the partners and of course EDOS as a coordinator, we are available to discuss with other stakeholders to give guidance for the transferability, to discuss the future developments, to plan project to do. And so, having said that, I think that I can give the floor to the other 3 moderators of this conference, and asking to them to give a brief closing comment. So please, Mr. Kreuzkamp, Professor Voiku, and most of all, the owner of the organizer of the conference, Mr. Koneashka, please take the floor and contribute to closing positively the conference. Thank you very much.
Well, maybe Julian, you will have the last word. I think you are the organizer, and you have put together a lot of people and interesting people and interested people. And so I make honor to your organization. I would like for all the partners, thank you all who have participated here. Thank you all who have done the project up to now, and who will use the products of the project. And I think we are near to the finish of the project, but there's still, I think, as Marina said, a lot to be done. And I hope that we, with our activities, could in a good way contribute to a better understanding for European citizens moving in Europe and using their rights of mobility, how they can implement and use and fulfill their rights. Thank you very much indeed for. Julian, please take the floor.
Thank you. Bogdan, are you willing to add something?
Well, I will be brief. I would say that I really enjoyed the project, and I had always the feeling that we are doing things that are useful for everyone. So yeah, as a conclusion, I would say it was great. That's all.
Thank you so much. Well, I'm pleased that we managed to show everybody, particularly to the participants that were not involved previously, what is EUReKA and what is it about. We have managed to accomplish a number of things, but the most important one is, on the one hand, those that remain after us, meaning the tools, and on the other hand, the ones that we go after the project completion, our experience in working with each other in a multicultural environment and, well, in difficult times. I thank all of you for your participation. I'm very pleased that you have been here today with us. And I would like to tell you that, as Antonio said, our work doesn't stop here. We have still things to do for EUReKA, and I'm pleased to announce you that we have a, let's say, a brief message from Mr. Cosmin Boiangiu, the Executive Director of the European Labour Authority, who would like to know more a little bit about this project and to have a dialogue, provided that there is something new that may come up from this. So I thank you all for participation, particularly to Idos, the initiator of the project, to Luca and Antonio here with us, and hopefully we will meet again, at least in as good as circumstances as this one, these. So thank you all. I declare the meeting open. Bye-bye.